gentlemen from the jury, dear audience, as you might know, my favorite sport is basketball. There are no misunderstandings of the name there. There's only not one name in Germany and in Canada. This is different from the sport I used to play before, and which is by far the most popular sport in Germany. We call it Fußball, which should be football. In your country, we call it soccer. Today, I would like to convince you that there should be only one term for sport in the global world, and this should be football. I want to show you the reasons that support my opinion. North America is one of the very few regions in the world where we still refer to this beautiful sport of football as soccer, and I don't really understand why. After this speech, I hope that everyone forgets about the term soccer, and I hope that you won't use it again. I know that you might argue that American football owns the term football, but be honest to yourselves. In which sport do you use your feet more, American football or football? Let's start off with a little bit of history. Football, like most of you know, developed in England. And at first, all football associations had the term football in their name. The term soccer developed later and was just used by the British upper class. It is quite clear where the term football comes from, but how many of you know where the term soccer comes from? The term soccer is an abbreviation for the word association, and this has obviously nothing to do with the actual sport, football. Furthermore, it's football for big crowds nowadays, and football is represented much better than soccer. Obviously, football is the sport where your feet are most active with the ball. You use your feet about 95% of the time. The other time, the ball is out for thrown on the hands of the goalie. We all see the incredibly massive use of feet, and therefore football is simply the best description. Furthermore, with the name change in North America, we reward the players for their amazing footwork, and we also scale down the big gap between North American football and European football. North American football teams would also get a big boost by being called footballers on a consistent basis for the next World Cup or the next Olympic Games. Football is the world's favorite game. About 700 million people watched the last World Cup final, whereas just about 120 million people watched the last Super Bowl. Therefore, should majority rule, and the most watched sport should get the name it deserves. Most people that watch American football are North American. People who watch football are from all over the world. If we made a democratic decision about the two names, football would win by far. The FIFA does also have the name football and not soccer in it. I think there can be two different sports that have the same name at the same time, as long as American football is not just called football. Otherwise, we would have confusion. There would be a need of rename a lot of sports if we follow the American example. Because hockey would be hockey ball, or volleyball would be volley football, because you can kick the ball in two sides. I don't understand the name of American football for this reason, but I think it is possible to have two names, to have two sports called football at the same time. I guess many of you have been to Europe before, or you want to go in the near future. My advice is not to talk about football or not to go to a football game when you refer to it as soccer, because you might get in trouble. Especially at times when there are big events like the World Cup. Europeans hate the word soccer. I hope I convinced you not to use the term soccer anymore. It's very important that there is a standard term for this amazing sport. Remember that you use your feet about 95% of the time, and that shows us that there's only one real name, football. In my opinion, a change of name in North America will only need a little time and flexibility. I'm convinced, I lived here for nearly 1 year, and I'm convinced that Canadians will accustom to the correct name fast, like already the Australians did in 2005. And maybe, in a few years, the new world champion in football